thank you all for being here. Today, as you know, I met with Director Bonaventura just a few minutes ago. Then I've received a letter from the governor today regarding the DCS funding for case workers. And you might remember I was looking at the letter that I sent to the director back in November of last year when it first came out, that the department was not in compliance in terms of the caseload standards for child protective caseworkers throughout the state, basically. And at that time, of course, I raised a concern as to how that could be and why the department wasn't in compliance, and questioned whether or not we needed to just make sure by way of additional funding for the department that we were providing the necessary caseworkers and personnel to come in compliance with state law. You might remember that led to a meeting with Director Bonaventura where we, Representative Skodsky was in that meeting along with myself and the director, and we asked, Representative Skodsky and myself asked for them to supplement the funding. At that time, they indicated they wanted to have the study completed, and so they didn't ask for the money at that time, but I'm very, very gratified to see today that upon the conclusion of the study by Deloitte and the department and the governor's office is recognizing that these additional caseworkers should be hired, and I'm very glad to see that they are also putting their money where their mouths is by asking for an additional $7.5 million annually to go into this budget. That money is not there now, so we'll have to make sure that it goes into the budget, and I assured the director that I will be personally following up that request with my own request that money goes into the budget. And I think you can rest assured that it will remain a top priority, the Senate Democratic Caucus, that above everything else, funding for protection of our children will be in the budget for the coming 2 years for the state of Indiana. So I understand that the governor has had his availability and has indicated as well that this is a request that he is going to be making. So there are some other issues I think that we'll probably have to follow up in terms of how do we adequately protect the children in the state of Indiana, and I've discussed some of that with the director, whether it's trying to make sure that our caseworkers are compensated fairly, that we try to minimize the turnover that exists in the department, and any other means that are necessary to assure that the children in the state of Indiana are protected. But I am very, very gratified by this information today. Essentially, as I understand it, the department study confirms that those standards are valid, that we do need additional caseworkers and staff to come in compliance, and the plan now is to get that funding to make sure that that happens.
There was obviously some consternation when DCS first made its report to the Budget Committee back in December. Mm-hmm. But given how this is all played out with the report, or with the study and everything like that, did the process play out the way it should here?
Well, I would say, you've answered that question, and I would have to say that it shows there's an opportunity for the minority to participate and to raise these issues and to press these issues, because, again, it was Representative Skodsky and our caucus which took a lead on this issue back then and challenged the administration as to why the standards weren't being complied with. And credit to Director Bonaventura. She did what she said she was going to do, have the study. We weren't necessarily happy that we didn't necessarily think that there needed to be a study. The standards were there. We felt they should be met, but to her credit, she did the study, and when the study came back and basically said, yes, you need to hire these additional caseworkers, this is what's being recommended. So I would say, yes, the system has worked. Yeah.
It seems as though the the study upheld the 1217 case standard, have you been given any indication from Director Bonaventura that that will be further reviewed?
Well, no, I think they might want to do some things in terms of how they provide the support to the caseworkers so they can meet those standards. But I directly asked her, well, then we're not seeing any need to change the 1217 standards, and she indicated that there was not a need to change those standards based upon this report. So I think it's a good day for the protection of children in the state of Indiana.
Do you think the 7.5 is enough? Does that?
I asked her that too. Because I've told her, and I still will say, we're not going to skimp on this. What is needed to get the job done, we should do. And so I asked her directly if she felt that the 7.5 million was sufficient. She indicates that she feels it is. We did a little bit of our own calculation on this going back some time, and we think that's probably in line with what we calculated as well. So, but there again, she shouldn't hesitate. If there's some need for additional funding in this regards, we'll be out there advocating for that as a caucus. I can tell you that.